The day I made my final debt payment, I didn't post about it. I didn't tell my friends. I sat alone in my apartment, opened my banking app, watched the balance hit zero, and just stared at the screen for almost 10 minutes. $42,000 gone on a salary of $38,000 a year. Most people assume you need to earn six figures to dig out of a hole that deep. You don't. What you need is the right order of operations. And today, I'm going to walk you through the exact 5-step order that got me there. Because doing these steps in the wrong sequence is exactly why most people stay stuck for years. Before I get into the steps, you need to understand why order matters more than effort here. There's data from the Federal Reserve that most people never look at. The average American household now carries over $8,000 in credit card debt alone. And at today's average interest rate of around 22%, minimum payments barely touch the principal. If you're only ever paying the minimum, you can pay for 15 years and still owe almost what you started with. That's not a discipline problem. That's a math problem. And the order you attack it in is what actually changes the math in your favor. Here's the trap nobody warns you about. When people finally decide to get serious about debt, they usually attack the biggest number first, because it feels like the responsible thing to do. So they throw everything at a $20,000 loan, while 3 smaller cards keep quietly racking up interest in the background. 18 months later, they've barely dented the big one, they're exhausted, and they quit. I did this exact thing for almost a year before I figured out what actually works. Step 1. I listed every single debt on one page, smallest to largest, completely ignoring the interest rates. I know that sounds backwards, because mathematically, you're supposed to attack the highest interest rate first. But here's what nobody tells you. Personal finance is not a math problem. It's a psychology problem wearing a math costume. I had 6 different debts. My smallest was an old $600 medical bill. I paid every minimum on everything else and threw every extra dollar at that one. 6 weeks later, it was gone. That was the first time in 3 years I'd actually eliminated something completely, not just chipped at it. That feeling is what kept me going for the next 2 years. A win you can feel beats a formula you can't. Step 2. I found my actual number, not my guessed number. I sat down with every statement and added up the real total. $42,118 across 6 accounts. Most people never do this because they're scared of the number. I get it. But you cannot navigate out of a hole you refuse to measure. Once I had the real figure, it stopped being this vague, terrifying cloud following me around, and it became a target. Targets can be hit. Clouds can't. Step 3. And this is the one that actually accelerated everything. I called every single creditor and asked for a lower interest rate on the same day I made my plan. Most people never do this because it feels pointless, or embarrassing, or like begging. It's none of those things. It's a 5-minute phone call. On 2 of my cards, they lowered my rate just because I asked, and I'd never missed a payment. On a 3rd, they moved me into a hardship program that paused interest completely for 6 months. That one call alone saved me almost $2,000 over the life of my debt. Before you send a single extra dollar anywhere, make that call. It costs you nothing and it can save you thousands. Step 4. I automated a fixed debt payment the same way you'd automate rent, on payday, before I could touch it. I picked $420 a month, which was uncomfortable but not impossible on my income. It left the checking account automatically, the morning after every paycheck landed, and went straight to whatever debt was next on my smallest to largest list. I didn't decide each month whether I felt like paying extra. I removed the decision entirely. Willpower runs out. A standing bank instruction doesn't. Step 5. And this is the one that actually cut my timeline down by almost a full year. I redirected every single dollar that wasn't already spoken for. Tax refund, straight to debt. $180 from selling an old bike, straight to debt. A small holiday bonus from work, straight to debt. None of that money had already been budgeted into my life, so I never actually felt like I was losing anything. I wasn't cutting my coffee or my groceries to find that money. I was just refusing to let found money quietly evaporate into nothing, the way it always had before. The whole thing took 2 years and 7 months. It was not fast, and it was not glamorous. There were months I paid $420 and then felt broke for 2 straight weeks. But the balance kept moving in one direction. And once I could see it actually shrinking instead of just existing, quitting stopped feeling like an option. What changed wasn't just the number on the screen. I stopped flinching every time my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I stopped doing that quiet math in my head every single time I looked at a menu. For the first time since I was 22 years old, my income actually belonged to me, instead of to 6 different companies I'd never even met in person. Nobody taught me any of this. I had to build the whole system myself on a salary the world kept insisting was too small to fix anything on. If this gave you a plan you can actually use, subscribe. Because the next video breaks down what to do with your money once the debt is finally gone. And that's honestly the more exciting half of this story. Before you go, tell me where you actually are right now. Are you still figuring out your real total number? Are you in the middle of your own list? Or are you already on the other side of this, remembering exactly what that zero balance felt like? Drop it in the comments. Somebody reading them tonight might be one sentence away from finally starting.